You want to change your life. You want success. Then stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is a spark. It fades. Discipline is the engine that keeps you moving when the fire goes out. You can't depend on feelings. Feelings are fragile. One bad day, one distraction, one excuse, and you're done. Discipline is the difference between those who dream and those who do. Every great achievement, every breakthrough, every transformation was built on one brutal truth. They did it even when they didn't feel like it. When you say you want to change your life, you must understand something fundamental. Motivation will not save you. It's a temporary spark, a flash of excitement that fades as quickly as it comes. Discipline, on the other hand, is the fire that never dies. It's the steady force that keeps burning even when your emotions turn cold. You can't depend on how you feel if you want to create something extraordinary. Feelings are fragile. They shift with the weather, they crumble under pressure, they give you reasons to stop when life gets hard. But discipline is built on decision, not desire. It's the art of moving forward when every part of you wants to stop. It's the power to silence the voice that says, "I don't feel like it," and replace it with, "I must." Every great man, every successful woman, every visionary who reshaped their destiny didn't rely on being in the mood. They relied on discipline. They acted despite resistance. They pushed through fear. They showed up again and again until their actions became their nature. There will be mornings when your bed feels heavier than your dreams, when your body aches and your mind whispers excuses. That's when discipline becomes your weapon. Discipline isn't about what you do when everything feels right. It's about what you do when everything feels wrong. It's in those hard, ugly, uncomfortable moments that your strength is forged. When you force yourself to get up, to work, to show up, even when your heart isn't in it, you're creating the version of yourself that can't be broken. You're teaching your mind to obey your will. You're building the kind of power that doesn't depend on emotion. Most people lose the battle because they wait to feel ready. They wait for clarity, for confidence, for courage. But the truth is, you don't get ready. You become ready by acting. Readiness is born in motion. The more you move, the more you grow. The more you discipline yourself to take action, the more your feelings will follow. You cannot think your way into confidence. You act your way into it. Discipline demands that you move when everything inside you says stop. It's an internal rebellion, a war between who you are and who you're meant to become. Your mind will always seek comfort, but comfort never built a legacy. Comfort never created a champion. Comfort never transformed a life. You have to step into discomfort on purpose, again and again, until it becomes familiar. When you lift weights, you tear muscle fibers so they can rebuild stronger. The same is true for your mind. Discipline is mental weightlifting. It tears down weakness and rebuilds resilience. Every time you say no to temptation, every time you override your emotions, every time you do what you should instead of what you want, you're strengthening your inner core. You're programming your brain to operate on commitment instead of convenience. You stop being the type of person who waits to be inspired and become the type of person who inspires others simply by their consistency. You see, most people think discipline is restrictive, but in reality, it's the ultimate freedom. It frees you from regret, from guilt, from that heavy feeling of wasted potential. When you are disciplined, you no longer need to depend on others to push you. You no longer need external validation to move. You have internal control. You dictate your day, your direction, your destiny. Without discipline, you drift. You let life happen to you instead of shaping it with intention. You become reactive instead of proactive. Every time you let your feelings decide your actions, you surrender your power. Discipline gives that power back. It says, no matter how I feel, I will do what needs to be done. And that, right there, is the mindset of every person who has ever turned an ordinary life into an extraordinary one. The undisciplined mind lives in excuses. The disciplined one lives in results. The difference between the two is not talent, not luck, not opportunity. It's consistency through discipline. You have to understand that discipline is not built in a single day. It's not something you turn on with a motivational quote or a good morning speech. It's built brick by brick, habit by habit, decision by decision. It's built when you choose to wake up earlier than you want to. When you choose to eat clean instead of giving in to cravings. When you choose to work one more hour while everyone else is scrolling through their phone. It's built in silence, when no one's watching, when no one claps for you, when there's no applause, no recognition, just your willpower and your mission. Discipline is not glamorous, it's not loud, it's not exciting, it's quiet, repetitive, and relentless. But that's what makes it powerful. It's what turns amateurs into professionals, dreamers into doers, and vision into reality. The secret to success is not doing something once with passion. It's doing it 1,000 times with discipline. And when you start forcing yourself to be disciplined, something incredible happens. Your standards rise. You stop tolerating mediocrity from yourself and from others. You begin to expect more from your time, your effort, your energy. You stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop letting laziness have a voice in your life. Because you realize discipline is not just about doing the hard things. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't run from them. You develop mental calluses. You build emotional armor. You stop needing to feel inspired because discipline has become your identity. It's no longer a choice. It's who you are. That's the transformation most people never reach. They stay stuck in the loop of waiting for the right time, the right feeling, the right circumstance. But you choose to move anyway. You choose to push forward. You choose to act with discipline. Because you've learned the truth, motivation starts the journey, but discipline finishes it. There will be days when you wake up and the world feels heavy. Days when the alarm rings, but your body aches. Your mind whispers, not today, and every fiber of your being begs for comfort. Those days are where discipline is forged. Not on the easy mornings when motivation flows through you, but in those hard, silent battles when no one is watching and quitting feels like the easy choice. That's the battlefield where greatness is born. You see, discipline doesn't care about how you feel. It doesn't need your permission. It doesn't wait for your enthusiasm or depend on your energy. It simply demands that you show up. It asks you to prove your commitment through action, not emotion. The moment you force yourself to do what needs to be done, despite fatigue or fear, you're taking control back from the weaker part of yourself. You're training your soul to obey purpose over feelings. And that's what separates the disciplined from the defeated. The truth is, most people let emotions dictate their actions. They only move when they feel like it, only grind when they're inspired, only commit when conditions are perfect. But life doesn't reward those who wait for ideal conditions. It rewards those who create them. Discipline is the refusal to be ruled by mood. It's the inner command that says, I move regardless. That mindset transforms ordinary people into unstoppable forces. Every time you act against your emotions, you're strengthening a muscle in your mind, a muscle that grows tougher, sharper, more focused with each repetition. That's why disciplined people seem fearless. It's not because they don't feel resistance, it's because they've mastered it. They've learned to override that lazy voice that whispers excuses. They don't allow emotions to control execution. Their consistency becomes their power, their silence becomes their strength. And every single time they act when they don't want to, they win a battle most will never fight. You must understand this, the gap between who you are and who you want to be will only be closed through discipline. You can't think your way there. You can't wish your way there. You must act your way there. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you're building credibility with yourself. You're proving that your word means something. And that self-trust is priceless. It's what drives confidence, focus, and power. When you break promises to yourself, you weaken your own foundation. You start doubting your ability to commit. But when you act with discipline, when you show up even when you're tired, uninspired, or afraid, you reinforce the truth that you can rely on yourself. That's what real power feels like. It's not loud, it's not boastful, it's quiet certainty. The kind that says, I'll show up regardless. That kind of consistency becomes unshakable. It's what builds champions, leaders, and visionaries. It's the essence of resilience. Every disciplined act you take carves a new pattern into your character. It's not just about getting through a workout, finishing a project, or keeping a promise. It's about transforming who you are at the deepest level. Discipline rewires the way you see yourself. It replaces I can't with I will. It turns hesitation into momentum. It teaches you that pain is temporary, but pride is permanent. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you strengthen the belief that you're in control. You start realizing that progress isn't built on giant leaps. It's built on the small, consistent steps you take when no one notices. That's the secret. Discipline isn't a burst of effort, it's a lifestyle of commitment. It's the unglamorous grind that compounds into greatness. People will see the results one day, but they'll never see the lonely hours, the quiet sacrifices, the relentless repetition behind it. That's what makes discipline sacred. It's your private contract with your purpose. Discipline doesn't come naturally. It's cultivated through repetition. It's built in the moments of resistance. Every time you choose the harder path, you're conditioning your mind to obey your vision instead of your excuses. You're teaching yourself that temporary discomfort is worth long-term fulfillment. And that's the trade most people never make. They want instant pleasure instead of lasting progress. But discipline flips that equation. It makes you strong enough to delay gratification, to endure the now for the sake of the next. You'll start noticing that the things that once felt impossible begin to feel normal. Waking up early becomes natural. Working harder becomes second nature. You stop needing external validation because you're driven by something deeper, self-respect. Discipline builds that. It's the quiet power of knowing you're keeping promises no one else even knows about. That's real strength, the kind no one can take from you. And yes, discipline will test you. It will push you to your limits and demand more when you feel empty. It will strip away your excuses, confront your weakness, and force you to decide who you really are. But that's where transformation begins. in the uncomfortable spaces where most people give up. Discipline will challenge you to rise above your feelings, to act with intention when chaos surrounds you. It will teach you that you don't need to feel like it to do it. You just do it. You execute. You move forward. Because you understand that discipline is not punishment. It's preparation. It's sculpting you into someone unshakable, someone focused, someone worthy of the dreams they chase. The process isn't easy, but it's worth every ounce of struggle. Because once you master discipline, you master yourself, and that's the most powerful victory you will ever achieve. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to begin. Stop convincing yourself that someday, when things feel right, when the timing aligns, when the energy is high, you'll start. That day will never come. The truth is, the right time is a lie your comfort tells you to protect your laziness. There will never be a moment when you feel fully ready, fully confident, fully certain. Readiness is not a gift, it's a result. It's built through action, not before it. The people who achieve greatness don't start because they feel prepared. They start because they refuse to keep waiting. They understand that motion creates momentum. They take the first uncomfortable step, and that step becomes a rhythm. That rhythm becomes consistency, and that consistency builds mastery. Most people are trapped in a loop of hesitation, waiting for a signal that will never arrive. But the ones who break free understand a simple truth. You don't need to feel ready to start. You need to start to feel ready. Every time you hesitate, every time you stall, every time you wait for motivation, you lose time. You lose energy. You lose opportunities. The longer you wait, the weaker your will becomes. Waiting is the enemy of progress because it feeds your fear. The more you delay, the louder the doubts become. The only way to silence them is through action. You can't think your way out of fear. You must move through it. Action kills anxiety. Movement creates clarity. Once you start, even in uncertainty, you begin to see what's possible. The first attempt won't be perfect, but it will be progress. And progress is what perfection is built on. Waiting for perfect conditions is like waiting for the ocean to calm before you learn to swim. It's never going to happen. You have to jump in. You have to get wet. You have to learn through doing. Discipline is what gets you into motion. When your emotions say stop, it's what transforms hesitation into execution. It's what separates those who wish from those who win. The world is full of people who almost started. People who almost launched their business, almost pursued their dream, almost changed their life. Almost is the graveyard of potential. It's where greatness goes to die. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't intelligence, talent, or luck. It's the courage to move without guarantees. Discipline gives you that courage. It teaches you that certainty is not a prerequisite for progress. You don't need to know every step to take the first one. You don't need to see the finish line to start the race. Every great achiever began in uncertainty. They were afraid, unsure, insecure, but they moved anyway. They used discipline to keep walking through the fog until the path revealed itself. They understood that clarity doesn't come before action. It comes from action. Every step forward sharpens your vision. Every attempt refines your direction. Every act of discipline brings you closer to mastery. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is logical. Motivation depends on how you feel, but discipline depends on what you decide. When you wait for motivation, you surrender control. You're allowing your emotions to dictate your destiny. But when you act with discipline, you take control back. You stop waiting for inspiration and start creating it. You realize that inspiration is not something you find, it's something you generate through action. The more you do, the more you want to do, the more you move, the more energy you create. That's why disciplined people seem unstoppable. It's not because they always feel motivated. It's because they've trained themselves to act regardless. They understand that feelings are temporary, but results are permanent. Motivation fades, discipline sustains. The disciplined mind knows that consistency is not an emotion, it's a habit. And once that habit becomes part of you, action becomes natural, almost automatic. When you commit to action before you feel ready, you start to build a deep relationship with discomfort. You learn to function in uncertainty, to thrive under pressure, to stay calm in chaos. That's where true power lies. You stop seeking comfort and start seeking progress. The fear doesn't disappear, but your courage grows louder. You stop needing external pushes because the fire comes from within. You realize that your emotions are not commands, they're suggestions, and you have the authority to choose which ones to obey. When your mind says, wait, discipline says, go. When your emotions say, stop, discipline says, move. That's how warriors are made. Not in ease, but in resistance. Every time you act before you feel ready, you're sharpening your mental blade. You're proving to yourself that fear cannot control you, that hesitation cannot hold you, that comfort cannot own you. You're building a version of yourself that's unstoppable. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. You will never regret acting, but you will regret waiting. Every missed opportunity, every moment you let pass because you didn't feel ready, becomes a weight you carry. You look back and realize that the fear that stopped you wasn't real, it was imagined. Discipline frees you from that regret because it forces you to move regardless of fear. It gives you momentum, and momentum is life. Once you start moving, you create energy. That energy attracts opportunity, and that opportunity builds confidence. That's how growth happens. Not by waiting for the perfect moment, but by creating it through effort. Discipline is not about ignoring fear. It's about walking through it. It's about acting before your emotions catch up. It's about trusting that progress is better than perfection. The people who win in life are not the ones who felt ready. They're the ones who were brave enough to begin before they were. Because the truth is, readiness is not a feeling, it's a decision. And discipline is what makes that decision real. People think discipline is a cage, but it's actually the key that unlocks freedom. It's the paradox of success. What feels like restriction is what sets you free. When you're undisciplined, you move like a leaf in the wind, constantly blown around by circumstances, distractions, and emotions. You react to everything instead of directing your path. You waste time chasing pleasure instead of building purpose. You live at the mercy of impulses, moods, and moments. But when you become disciplined, you take back control. You stop being a victim of your own inconsistency. You stop drifting through life and start steering it. That's what real freedom is. The ability to control yourself. The ability to make decisions based on values, not feelings. The ability to say no to what's easy and yes to what's right. That's the kind of power most people never experience, because they mistake freedom for doing whatever they want. Real freedom comes from doing what you must. When you build discipline, you stop being controlled by the chaos of the world. You start creating order in your mind and structure in your life. You no longer wake up wondering how your day will unfold. You dictate it. You plan, you prepare, you execute. You create systems that serve your purpose instead of sabotaging it. Discipline eliminates uncertainty. You don't have to rely on willpower when you have structure. You don't waste energy making the same decisions every day because your habits do the work for you. And that's when your life begins to accelerate. You stop surviving and start thriving. You realize that your peace doesn't come from having less to do. It comes from being in control of what you do. Discipline gives you that control. It's not about restriction, it's about alignment. When your actions match your intentions, when your behavior reflects your beliefs, when your daily choices serve your vision, you feel a deep sense of peace. That's the kind of peace chaos can't touch. Without discipline, you live in regret. You live in guilt. In that constant, quiet frustration of knowing you could have done more but didn't. That's the worst kind of prison. The one you build for yourself. Every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow, you're locking yourself deeper into that cell. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken your trust in your own word. You start doubting your abilities, your goals, your purpose. That's how people end up stuck, not because they lack talent, but because they lack consistency. Discipline is the cure to that regret. When you're disciplined, you no longer rely on bursts of motivation. You move because your mission demands it. You show up because it's who you are. You no longer need to convince yourself to work. You've made it a standard. And that consistency compounds. One disciplined day turns into a week into a month into a lifestyle. Before you know it, your discipline has built a future that laziness could never touch. You have to stop seeing discipline as the enemy. Discipline is not punishment. It's preparation. It's the refining process that separates strength from weakness, clarity from confusion, progress from stagnation. When you choose discipline, you're choosing to become more. You're choosing to evolve. Every time you push through resistance, you're shaping yourself into a higher version of who you were yesterday. It's uncomfortable, yes, but so is staying the same. The difference is, one kind of discomfort leads to growth, while the other leads to decay. Discipline forces you to face your flaws, your habits, your excuses. It doesn't allow you to hide from them. It holds a mirror up to your life and says, this is who you've become. What are you going to do about it? That honesty hurts, but it's necessary. Because without that confrontation, you'll keep living beneath your potential, pretending you're doing your best, when you're really just doing what's easy. When you start living with discipline, something shifts inside you. You begin to see yourself differently. You realize you're capable of more than you ever imagined. You stop craving validation from others because your self-respect becomes your fuel. You look back at the person who used to quit early, the person who used to make excuses, and you hardly recognize them. Discipline rewrites your identity. It transforms you from a wanderer into a warrior, from a dreamer into a doer. You begin to move differently, more intentional, more focused, more powerful. You don't just talk about goals, you live them. You don't just visualize success, you embody it. People start to notice the difference. Not because you're louder, but because your consistency speaks volumes. You radiate confidence, not because you think you're perfect, but because you know you're progressing. That's the gift of discipline. It gives you proof of your own power. Every excuse you destroy through discipline becomes a victory. Every time you choose effort over comfort, you're reclaiming another piece of your potential. You stop being owned by the easy way out. You stop wasting your energy on things that don't matter. You start valuing time differently, treating every hour as an investment in your future. You realize that freedom doesn't mean doing less. It means doing the right things with intention. You begin to see that the undisciplined life might feel light in the moment, but it becomes heavy with regret later. The disciplined life might feel heavy now, but it becomes light with fulfillment later. And that's the ultimate truth. Discipline gives before it takes. It gives structure, peace, purpose, and pride. It gives you the confidence that comes from knowing you can rely on yourself. Because when you are disciplined, you no longer hope for a better future. You create it, one decision, one habit, one disciplined day at a time. Discipline is not a skill you stumble upon. It's a battle you choose to fight every single day. It's the unseen war between comfort and commitment, between who you are and who you could become. Every morning, that war begins the moment your eyes open. The easy voice inside you says, stay a little longer, rest a little more, you can start later. But discipline interrupts that whisper. It stands tall, unshaken, and says, no. That one word, now, is what builds empires, changes lives, and transforms destinies. Discipline is about doing what needs to be done, even when every part of you resists. It's what turns potential into power. The discipline never wait for ideal conditions. They create them. They move through the storm, through doubt, through fear. And every step they take strengthens their character. That's why the disciplined always rise. Their strength is not built on comfort, but on consistency. The truth is, you will never feel like doing what must be done. The mind will always find a reason to delay, distract, or detour. It's wired for survival, not success. It seeks comfort because comfort feels safe. But the very safety that keeps you comfortable also keeps you small. Discipline breaks that cycle. It demands you face the resistance head on. It's waking up when you don't want to. It's working when no one claps. It's staying focused when the world offers you endless ways to escape. That's where discipline becomes your weapon. It protects your purpose from your own weakness. Every act of discipline trains you to overcome that internal resistance. It reminds you that your goals are not suggestions. They're non-negotiables. Discipline silences the noise and keeps you rooted in purpose. Because without discipline, dreams remain fantasies, promises that never leave the page. Most people crave success, but run from the struggle that comes with it. They want the reward without the repetition, the glory without the grind. But discipline is the price of admission to every great thing in life. It's the invisible thread connecting effort to achievement. You can have talent, vision, creativity, but without discipline, they crumble under pressure. Discipline is what sustains you when the excitement fades, when the results are slow, when doubt creeps in. It's the voice that says, keep going. It's not glamorous. It's gritty. It's not loud. It's relentless. It's doing the same thing every day until excellence becomes automatic. That's the power of discipline. It transforms ordinary actions into extraordinary results. It doesn't happen overnight, but it happens inevitably for those who stay consistent. Every hour of effort, every moment of resistance, every act of sacrifice compounds over time until discipline becomes destiny. Discipline is more than routine. It's identity. When you commit to discipline long enough, it becomes who you are. You stop needing motivation because consistency becomes your nature. You no longer ask, should I? You simply do. The disciplined person doesn't rely on emotion. They rely on standards. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They create progress in imperfect conditions. That's why disciplined people move differently. They walk with conviction. They don't need to prove themselves because their results speak louder than their words. Their confidence doesn't come from luck. It comes from knowing they've earned everything they have. Discipline gives you that kind of unshakable belief. It removes the gap between intention and execution. It teaches you that success is not built on inspiration. It's built on integrity. When you say you'll do something, you do it. Not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. Discipline isn't just about action. It's about alignment. It's aligning your daily habits with your highest vision. It's choosing what matters most over what feels good now. It's saying no to distractions, to temptations, to anything that weakens your focus. The world will always offer shortcuts, but every shortcut leads to nowhere worth going. Discipline is what keeps you on the real path. The path that's long, hard, and full of obstacles, but also full of growth. Each moment of resistance is a lesson. Each time you say no to comfort, you say yes to greatness. And that's the secret. Discipline isn't about denying yourself. It's about directing yourself. It's choosing a long-term win over a short-term thrill. It's controlling your mind before your mind controls you. When you live with discipline, you no longer drift through life hoping things will change. You take command and make them change. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. That's when life begins to shift in your favor. Not because it got easier, but because you got sharper. Every ounce of progress you'll ever make comes down to this: your ability to do what you don't want to do when you least feel like doing it. That's discipline in its rawest form. It's not poetic. It's not pretty. It's often lonely. But it's the single most powerful force for transformation in existence. It turns chaos into clarity, fear into focus, and weakness into strength. The world belongs to those who can discipline their emotions, who can act with consistency when others freeze in doubt. Because discipline doesn't just change what you achieve, it changes who you become. It builds a mind that's unbreakable, a spirit that's untouchable, and a will that doesn't flinch under pressure. And while others wait for the right mood, the disciplined rise again and again, not because they feel ready, but because they decided to be. Discipline will break you before it builds you. It doesn't come wrapped in comfort or ease. It comes disguised as difficulty, frustration, and sacrifice. When you first commit to a disciplined life, it feels like you're fighting against yourself. Your mind rebels. Your body resists. Everything inside you screams to quit. That's because discipline strips away your illusions. It forces you to face your own weakness. It confronts every excuse you've ever used, every lazy thought you've ever justified. And that confrontation hurts. It's uncomfortable to admit how often you've chosen comfort over progress, or how many times you've let your emotions dictate your actions. But that pain, that internal conflict, isn't punishment. It's purification. It's the process of cleansing everything that doesn't serve your highest potential. Discipline doesn't destroy you, it reshapes you. It takes your raw, unrefined energy and molds it into focus, precision, and strength. It breaks you down to rebuild you better. In the beginning, you'll feel the weight of discipline pressing against you. You'll feel it in the early mornings, when your alarm cuts through your sleep. You'll feel it when you're tired, uninspired, and tempted to take a day off. You'll feel it when you're putting in effort and no one seems to notice, when you're sacrificing comfort, but results come slow. And in those moments, doubt creeps in. It whispers, "What's the point?" But that's exactly where the transformation happens. Right there. In the silence between frustration and persistence. The ones who endure that phase, who push through the discomfort without needing applause, are the ones who cross into greatness. Discipline is not about instant gratification, it's about long-term victory. It teaches you to fall in love with the process rather than the praise. Every time you resist the urge to quit, you're teaching yourself endurance. You're building a mind that can't be broken by circumstance. You're laying the foundation for strength that outlasts emotion. The beauty of discipline is that while it feels like struggle in the moment, it quietly builds something priceless within you: self-respect. There's a power that comes from keeping promises to yourself, from knowing that no matter what happens, you can count on your own commitment. That power changes how you walk, how you talk, how you approach life. You stop seeking validation from others because you've earned it from yourself. You stop craving shortcuts because you've learned the satisfaction of consistent effort. Discipline gives you the kind of confidence that doesn't shout, it radiates. It's not arrogance, it's assurance. It's the calm knowing that you're in control of your destiny. When everyone else is chasing motivation, you're driven by purpose. When everyone else is reacting to emotions, you're anchored by vision. That's the difference discipline creates. It separates the distracted from the determined, the talkers from the doers, the dreamers from the achievers. Every disciplined act is an investment in your evolution. Each time you choose to work instead of procrastinate, to persist instead of pause, you're rewriting the story of who you are. Discipline doesn't demand perfection, it demands persistence. You'll fail sometimes. You'll fall short. You'll have days when you break your own rules. But discipline isn't about never falling. It's about always getting back up. It's about recommitting every single time. It's about refusing to let one bad day become a bad habit. That's what separates progress from paralysis. Discipline is like a muscle. It only grows through repetition. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Over time, the things that once felt impossible become natural. The work that once felt painful becomes peaceful. What was once effort turns into instinct. That's the quiet reward of discipline. It transforms struggle into skill and persistence into power. Discipline also teaches you something that no book or mentor can: mastery over emotion. When you live undisciplined, you're ruled by how you feel. When you live with discipline, you learn to rule how you feel. You stop letting moods dictate your movement. You stop letting fear freeze your progress. You stop negotiating with weakness. Discipline reprograms your mind to act according to purpose, not impulse. It gives you emotional resilience, the ability to stay steady when things fall apart. That's the real advantage of a disciplined life. While others crumble under pressure, you remain composed. While others make excuses, you make progress. While others seek comfort, you seek growth. Discipline teaches you that feelings are temporary, but the consequences of your choices are permanent. So you act, not because you feel like it, but because your future demands it. You understand that your emotions are fleeting, but your vision is forever. What most people don't realize is that the pain of discipline is temporary, but the strength it builds is permanent. Every early morning, every hard decision, every moment of sacrifice adds up. You don't see the transformation at first, but it's happening beneath the surface. Discipline is like pressure. It doesn't just shape you, it refines you. It removes what's weak, what's inconsistent, what's unnecessary. It leaves behind only what's strong. Over time, you begin to crave the structure you once resisted. You begin to find peace in the work, fulfillment in the focus. You start realizing that every small act of discipline is a vote for the person you're becoming. It's proof that you're no longer controlled by comfort. You're not chasing easy anymore. You're chasing excellence. And that shift changes everything. Because once you've built yourself through discipline, no one, not failure, not fear, not doubt, can take that power away from you.